zip code, which I think is 02186. I'm not sure, but you can double check that. And it may give you as La Brea College. Pearson may or may not have updated itself. We were known formally as Caritas La Brea when we were in Dorchester, and sometimes it still continues. Then if you can see below here, they're going to ask you a couple of security questions. That's just for your own security. And then when you get through that, you're registered. You'll get something like this, and you can print it out. The same information will be sent to you by email. After that, now you want to go to the next part where it says join your online course. And it said, did you receive a course ID from your instructor? Yes, you did. If you go into your syllabi and start first with your lecture course first, go to the syllabi for the lecture course. You look into the next page or two, you'll see it starts off with Map Roberge, and it'll be a 5-digit number. And what you do is you pump it in. And when you pump it in, like this, you say yes, and then the number will show up. And what you should get is something that you would see like that. The page will come up. You know you're doing okay because it says Ana1010 BH Lecture Spring 2018. And if you notice right here, the Map Roberge, that same course ID number is there. You'll know you're doing okay also because if you look here, here is the front cover of your book. Then, going back over here, once you've done that, you'll get a question. Join another course. If you click up where it says My Courses, it'll say join another course. And if you click on it, then you put down the lab course ID number, which is, again, Map Roberge, but that 5-digit number is going to be found in your lab syllabus. Fill it in, hit continue, and yep, now you're going to have it look like this. Ana1010 BH Lab Spring 2018, and again, the same course ID number here that you just put in for the lab access to Mastering A&P. You'll know you're doing okay as well because you'll have that basically the front cover of the lab book right there, okay? All right now. So just as a quick review, you provide the login name and password, write them down. Register using the access code, the 6 pseudo word code that's in your card. Provide name, zip code of the college, select the college, and provide the security question. Next, log into your course, use the instructor provided code. There's separate codes for lab and lecture. Start with the lecture, then check, and then go, would you like to join another course? Yes, provide the code for the lab. Once you're done with that, you know that you're going to basically be set up, and you'll see that in the upper left-hand corner, the proper codes for both lab and lecture. And then we move on from there. There are certain advantages to using Mastering A&P. One is that you're going to have a week-to-week notification of when the assignments are due. The grade book records the date, time, and grade of the completed assignments. The assignments have randomized quiz questions. Usually with the assignments that are in there, we have a large pool of questions related to the particular content of that week, and you will get to basically go at them. They may be true, false, they may be matching, they may be identification, they may be identification in sense for artwork or for models, particularly with labs. I encourage you never to wait until the last minute of the deadline to complete these assignments. They will take time to complete. Many of them will take 1 hour or a little bit more. On average, your lectures will have 50 questions out of a pool of several hundred. Your lab assignments, weekly assignments, will have about 40 questions, but it does take time. Now, there is one more change in policy that you need to be aware of. As part of the mastery approach, what we used to have was students that would go in, take the, do the assignment one time over and not really care. And that's not really good. For them to master and thereby succeed and do very, very well in the course, they have to achieve 80% to earn their grade points for that particular week. What I mean by 80% is, if this is a quiz, you've got to get an 80 or better. You can take the assignment and do it as many times as necessary prior to the due date. You have to get an 80 or higher to actually earn the grade points. If you don't, can't do anything. This is helping you to master the A&P assignments and to really do well in the concepts. This is only for the Mastering A&P assignments. Okay, there are a few assignments you're going to have, particularly in labs, that may be more questions, they may be more writing assignments. Those will not have a mastery approach. Okay, so you can take these now as many times as you'd like till you get to the 80%. We used to have students that would do it once, get 10 points or 10% and not care. But now it's much more important. You also have to complete 100% of the assignment, whether this is Mastering A&P or any uploadable assignment. Completion of assignments is important. Failure to complete assignments results in a 0 grade and there is no makeup. Now let's talk about grading. In your course, you're going to have a total of 1,000 points. This is broken down to basically 6 online exams, which is 60% of your grade. Each exam is going to be 100 points, so a total of 600 points. You're going to have weekly graded online assignments for the lecture section. They're going to vary from 5 to 10 points with a total of 150 points. That's 15% of your grade. The other 25% of your grade is going to come from the laboratory component. The laboratory component will consist of 4 lab practical exams. These will be 50 points each. They're going to be 40 questions. Now with the lecture exams, there will be 50 questions. But here, you're only going to have 40 questions. Each question is going to earn 1.25 points. You'll have a total of 50 points. You will have weekly assignments also that make up the other 50 points for the 25%, okay? Because you're going to have your exams be 200 points total, and weekly assignments are going to consist of 50 points total, okay? But keep in mind, weekly assignments are going to still, in the lab section, have the 80% requirement. Now, also, let's talk about exams. There's a new policy. As part of mastery learning, you can take the exam over a second time. Yes, you heard me right. But you must contact the professor within 24 hours of the end of the first try. I will not entertain people asking for a retake 2 or 3 weeks later. And it's only relevant because of the fact that when you think about it, your mind is going to be filled with other information and you're going to be focused on many other things after that week, a couple of weeks later. This is only in effect for exams that grade below 77%, so below passing. Here's an example, and this is clearly discussed in detail in your syllabi, both lab and lecture. Let's take lab, for example. If the first try, you got 25 points out of the 50 points, well, that's well below passing. You will, within 24 hours, send me an email and say, please, I'd like to retake this exam. And I will say, great. I will open up the window at this point, and you will have till this time to finish it. But a second try will be graded at only 90% of the second grade. So if, let's say, your second try, you only got 45 points, well, that's good, but you're going to be subject to a 90% rule, which means that in actuality, you'll only have 40.5 points. Don't worry, I will only take the higher of the 2 grades that will be finally accepted. This also applies if you miss the first exam window. I've had students in the past that come back to me after I've closed the exam window. Exam window is usually a 24-hour period from 3 p.m. to 3 p.m. Okay, I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. But if they miss it, then they go, oh gosh, can you let me have one more chance and da-da-da? Fine. Now you will. But you need to notify me and you will retake it under the rule. Now, because we have such a close and tight time situation with your last lecture exam for the course, the registrar really wants the grades in as quickly as possible, and the last lecture exam will occur during finals week, the retake rule will not apply. Okay? Now, let me talk to you for half a second before I get into the new policy. What am I talking about when it comes to the exam window? The exam window is a 24-hour period. For lecture exams, it will be Wednesday to Thursday of that week. And the information will pop up in announcements. It will be also available on the e-learning site for that particular week. And basically, it goes from Wednesday 3 p.m. to Thursday, 3 p.m. You need to time yourself because you'll have 90 minutes to get that exam done. But again, it is not open book. It is not open book. It is a closed book exam. You cannot have help. Lab exams have a 24-hour window as well, but they open up on Tuesday at 3 p.m. and go to Wednesday, 3 p.m. Okay? Good. Let's talk about the grading policy. As of now, Labouré has set the passing now to be C+. So to pass A&P1, you need to have a minimum 770 points. If you're 769, I do not round up. You will fail. Okay? You will not pass the course. You need to have a minimum of 770, and it's not that difficult because if you stay on top of all this work, I can just about guarantee that you will be a success. Why? Because everybody else who's been on top of things, stays on top of all the exams, does all the readings, stays on top of everything else, does well. And they pass. And they don't just get a C+, they get Bs and As. As I said, no grades will be rounded up to the next grade, and the final grades are final. This is the grading scale that you see in your syllabi. It is based on 1,000 points. And as you can see here, 770 to 799 is a C+. You got to get a minimum of that. Okay? Now, as I said, no extra credit work is allowed for the course. Any missed or late work will result in 0. All subjected work has a time date stamp on it. Academic honesty. The highest level of academic honesty is expected for this course. And forms of academic dishonesty include cheating on quizzes and exams. That's why I keep emphasizing this is not an open book, it's a closed book exam. Do not get help. Do not ask anyone else for help. Also plagiarism. Basically what you got to do is do the work by yourself. And you have to keep in mind this, that you have to know this stuff to be a success in your nursing or your health physics or whatever else your healthcare professions are, as well as to do well on your NCLEX. Okay, moving on. As I said, assignments. Now, assignments are going to be due Friday, 8 p.m. This is for all lab assignments and for lecture assignments, except if you have a week in which you have a lecture exam. You have a lecture exam, the windows for assignments as well as your online exam will close at 3 p.m. Thursday. The schedule is in the syllabus and it is in the announcements. Tips for success: pacing, no procrastination. Do not wait until the last few days of the week. As a matter of fact, even though I don't count Saturday as attendance, really what you should be doing every Saturday is looking at what is going to be the demands for the next week. Okay? Keep in mind this. You want to avoid procrastination? Go right over to here. Let's say it's week 1. And this is week 1. You're going to see what you have to have. You have to do the readings of chapter 1 and your lecture notes. The lecture notes are down here. Print them out. Print out any graphic organizer or other notes. Also, read the lesson objectives. Read the lesson activities. Now, one of the things that's been really enhanced is this. After you've done lecture work, definitely before the end of the week, view the YouTube videos. These are useful to help you to get oriented. Now, if it's a lab session you're going to deal with, let's go to week 1 for the lab. You have a lot of things that you have to review, and you have your first lab for the week, which is going to be exercise 1 and exercise 2, and then part of 8. This will be connected, and you will get further instructions by the lab handout. You have to read that and print it out. Also, I'm encouraging you to go to the section in the back of the lab book and review the activities on palpating landmarks of the body. But before you get any of this started, you know what's going to help you? Go through the videos, because they will give you a direction, and they will help begin to build the scaffolding of understanding of what you have to do that week. Okay? And there's quite a lot of them. All YouTube videos, for the most part, I have put up or linked to are less than 10 minutes. But you are expected to use this as part of your tools to excel in this course. Keep in mind that repetition enhances recall. Also, further, I would sit down in the week